Hello Crafty Crandall fam. Today I have something fun to share, and that is a new art supply that I kind of stumbled across online and I'm super interested in trying out. I know, you're thinking, wait a minute, didn't you do a haul like a couple weeks ago? You had some new art supplies you were going to try out? Yes I did. But I also wanted to try these, and I was given a gift card for my birthday, and so I figured, why not? What a great thing to spend it on. And so I have for you today the Caran Neocolor Aquarelle, Neocolor 2. Don't know what the 2 is for, but they are these beautiful crayons that are supposed to activate in water. And so I'm super excited about it. Looks like they've got a little information sheet. They have, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there you go. Looks like some stickers, so that's exciting. I do love a good sticker. And then here are the crayons themselves. I got the 15 color version and I am super interested to try them out. I love watercolors, and so I imagine these will be similar to a watercolor pencil, but I'm not sure. And I don't have a ton of experience using watercolor pencils. I've got a couple different brands, but I don't use them regularly, so we'll see how these go. I am very excited to try them out. I saw these, actually I should point out, I saw these on the Last Coffee Beans channel. They did a collaboration with one of their art friends, and they like exchanged art supplies, and this was one of the supplies featured in that video. If I can find the video, I'll link it below. Otherwise, I'll just link you to the Last Coffee Beans channel and you can go check them out. Highly recommend. I love their videos. They're great. But without any further ado, let's hop into using these puppies, shall we? All right, looking at these just a little bit closer, this is how they came packaged. They did have like a cellophane kind of packaging around them, but obviously I already opened it. I showed you that in the video. But they're these beautiful crayons. I have to say, I was expecting them to be a bit like thicker. I thought they'd be thicker crayons. They're not. So let me just turn this around for you so that you can see what the back looks like. Really cool packaging. I had no idea that Caran did watercolor supplies, so this is extremely exciting. I've only known them as a colored pencil brand, and so I was excited to find these, kind of surprised. They come packaged again with this little information card about Caran. And then they have these stickers, which, looking at this, so we have here, this is what we're using in this video, is the Neocolor 2 Aquarelle. So these are the water activated pastels. The Neocolor 1, I guess, are permanent wax pastels, so those wouldn't reactivate with water, which is the difference. And then they have gouache. You guys, I had no idea that Caran did gouache, so I'm gonna have to look into how expensive that is and save my pretty pennies so that I can try out some of the Caran gouache, because I bet you it's really good. This is a highly touted brand for colored pencils, and so if they have the same quality of gouache as they do colored pencils, that would be amazing. I don't know what this sticker is supposed to be. If anyone can tell me, I'd be interested to know. But for now, let's take these out. Let's swatch them and see what they look like with water and without water, and then we'll create an illustration. Okay, so here are the dry swatches. As you can see, I'm an idiot. I got to the end and I was like, that's only 14 colors. Well, I missed the amazing red color. Like, I don't know if this is going to accurately portray how great of a red that is, but like, you guys, I am forever in search of the good reds, and this delivers. The only color that I'm not super impressed with is the green color here. Looking at it in the box, it does have somewhat of a blue tone to it, which is fine. Like, I like a good blue-green, but not when I don't have a solid earthy green. So we'll have to see what to do with that. Otherwise, these colors look amazing. I'm so excited about them. They lay down beautifully. I did try here with the white. I'm gonna see how that looks to like mix it ahead of time, because I'm not really sure the application of the white with respect to this type of medium, but it should be interesting. And now I'm going to try just applying water to each of the swatches to see how they look when activated with water. All right, here are the finished swatches all dry, and as you can see, there is some blooming and some very good water movement here. For the most part, I would say the colors are really good. It looks like some of them kind of bloom more than others, so I'll just have to be aware of that. But overall, the colors are very true to, you know, the wrapper on them, and I think they all look basically pretty consistent as far as pigmentation and amount of color that I got in this swatch, so that's pretty good. I'm excited to see how they work as far as layering and all of that stuff, so let's jump into that. Alright, so here's my painting setup. As you can see, I have already done my sketch. I've got a couple of brushes. I'm going to try a smaller brush for some of this because I feel like water control is going to be so key with these. First impressions, the vibrancy of the colors are just phenomenal. So I can't wait to use them. I have here, I'm going to do a sunrise on this side. I almost said sunset because I normally do a sunset, but I've got my Google up here with my sunrise reference. And so I'm going to paint that on this side. And then this is a quote from the song Marching in Time by Tremonti. A phenomenal song. I highly recommend you go listen to it. And so this whole spread is kind of dedicated to that. I am working in my handmade sketchbook. I am so excited to be using this thing. I have only 2 illustrations in here so far, and so I want to add to it with this Tremonti song because I want this whole sketchbook to be filled up with song art. So my approach here is going to be to color the whole thing and then add the water. And then if I've got to go back in afterward and add some details, I will do that with additional colors. I started this illustration by loosely blocking in the colors that I wanted with the crayons. So obviously for the grass, I started with the lightest color first and then worked slowly into building up the colors with some browns and yellows and that bluish green color as well, just trying to build in the areas of shadow, although my perspective in this piece was lacking in general. From there I progressed into, coloring the sky, which progressed very naturally down from the top from yellow to orange to more of a pinky color, and then finally allowing some of the blue color of the sky in right at the base of the horizon. The sun was a little bit more difficult, as in the reference photo, the sun had a ring around it in this deep burnt orange color, which looks absolutely stunning, but is a little bit daunting to consider when you are using these crayons, which can lead to a little bit less detail than you might think, because there is not as fine a point as you might get with either a fine point watercolor brush or with a colored pencil, which has a lot more detail control. So that's something to consider if you're going to use these. They're not fantastic for tiny details, so you might have to get a little bit creative there in your application of them.
Overall, I found that this phase of the drawing was very fun and loose and effective. It didn't take very long at all, which is something I hate about layering colored pencils, is that it takes forever. So honestly, these were an absolute blast in that respect.
All right, here we are, pre-water. Pre-water state looks pretty grainy. I don't think that I will use these on this toothy of paper in the future, because as you can see, it doesn't really get into the tooth very well. I'm sure it will once I add water, but it just feels like it's going to make it less easy to control as far as like needing to fill the gaps. So we'll see. Final thoughts will come after that, but just wanted to give you an update as to what it looks like right now before I add the water.
Overall, I was so impressed with the water application process that I needed to use with these, and how well they blended out across the toothiness of the paper. That was something that was a huge concern for me upon choosing this paper to work on and kind of seeing how it laid down, as I stated before. But in actually applying the water, I was so pleasantly surprised that they really did blend out very well. With my first layer of paint, it didn't feel as though I hit any resistance as a result of the pigmentation or the soluble wax compound that these are made of, which was an absolute joy. You see me here applying the real-time speed version of the sky, because I thought that was the most interesting part of the piece to have you watch in real time. For the most part, I do prefer including sped up footage so that you're not bored throughout me working through a piece of art, but I thought that this would be fun and illustrative of exactly how fast these really do break down and blend across the piece of paper, and also how much they dilute from their pigmented state in the dry state to their wet state. So as you see it dry across further portions of this piece, you can kind of tell how pigmented these crayons are, and how well even just that really light layer of an application applies across this piece of paper and lends itself such a vibrant hue, really. It is just really enjoyable to work with, and I was very impressed with these overall. I think that they are a fantastic medium to just start applying a really simple bit of color to your pieces without spending so many hours doing it. As a matter of fact, I would very highly recommend these as a travel art supply. I know I recently did a video on travel art supplies, but I think these are going to be my new go-to for watercolor type illustrations while I am on the go.
Alright, at this point I think I've got the first layer of water done, and it is mostly dry, so I'm going to try to add a second layer and see how these crayons kind of layer, and then re-wet, see if the under layers move around, see how well I can handle that. So far I think that it works best if I work light to dark. Kind of learned that the hard way down here with the grass, and I mean, to be honest, the grass doesn't look great anyway, but we're gonna try to fix it. And I also found that you really have to kind of go over it a couple of times to make the lines that you've drawn invisible. Especially down here, I had a lot of trouble with that. So we'll see how it goes. I didn't really smudge all of this out yet, but we'll see if any of it lifts or how they work.
In applying the second round of color to this illustration, I found that the reapplication of the dry medium was extremely easy. It worked just as well as before and still captured the toothiness of the paper even after some of that had been filled in with some of the soluble wax compound of the original first layer. So I will note, it does not get rid of the toothiness of the paper. You still have to deal with that, or, understand that it's a component of your illustration when you go back in with a second layer of these colored pencils or crayons. pastels, however you want to call them. They were, despite that toothiness continually showing through, still just as easy to work with and just as vibrant and just as smooth to use as a regular wax crayon is on smooth paper. So it's not a deterrent, it's just something that if you don't like to see the texture, then is just something more so to be aware of. In applying the water, however, of my second layer, I started to notice a bit more resistance and buildup on my brush of the soluble wax. I don't know if this is because it was actually lifting the layer below it, or if it's just because I applied a second layer on top of it and now my brush had more to contend with, but I started to notice that film kind of building up on my brush. And while I don't think that it did any harm to the brush, in the long run or anything of the sort, I did just want to mention it because it was kind of an odd feeling phenomenon using the brush. It did not seem to mess with my pigmentation at all. Like, I didn't find that the colors were moving in a different fashion. I didn't find that the colors moved in a way that I didn't expect them to. So I was okay with it overall. Like, it didn't really affect the painting process. It was more so just something that I noticed while I was filling in with my brush the final water application. So something to be aware of if you get these. Note that you might find a bit of a film there. I then went through and I added the details on top of them. I wanted to see what pens or what types of mediums could be applied on top of these, and I was ever so pleasantly surprised that this gold Kuretake pen that I have, which is also a paint pen, was able to be used on top of these without moving the lower layer of pigmentation. I did also try a couple of other things off camera, and I found that a regular ballpoint pen, any of your kind of fine line pens that are not water-based, I would not suggest using a water-based one with these unless it's on the final application over the top with no further water being applied. Any of those types of pens work beautifully over these. I didn't find any resistance or any additional hardship using them over the top of these, other than I would with regular watercolors. So that was fantastic. I really liked that aspect of these and I appreciated it. It was definitely a joy. Overall, my thoughts are that these would be a fantastic supply to get someone interested in watercolor, to give to someone who is maybe just starting out in their art journey or currently enjoys the use of crayons but maybe wants to expand into some other types of illustration. That would be really cool. Also, just for the regular old art enthusiast, these are phenomenal. I personally will be using these as a travel art supply from now on. I am so excited about them, and I think that they are just going to add so much flexibility to my art and as far as getting color down quickly. They are so good for that. The coloring process doesn't take very long, and the mixing I think is a little bit more intuitive than regular watercolor mixing. Additionally, you can carry 15 colors very compactly, whereas it might be a bit more cumbersome to do that with watercolors, as you need to bring a couple of extra supplies. Whereas with this, you can color in a location and then just apply a quick layer of water over the top later, and I think that that would work really well as far as, again, more of like a travel approach. Finishing quickly, just talking again about the piece that I did for this. Again, it was for the song Marching in Time by Tremonti, which I just absolutely love. It is a really realistic song. It gets you thinking about the current state of society and your own personal life and how you choose to approach your time. And so that's really what I wanted to illustrate in this piece. The sunrise as sort of a nod to starting a new day and choosing to thrive, and the timepiece in indication of the fact that it really speaks to how you spend your time and how you choose to live your life. So I again recommend that you go check it out. And I thank you guys so much for watching this piece, as I really enjoyed making it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, please give it a like. Consider subscribing to my channel down below if you're interested. I post new art and book related content on Tuesdays and occasionally on Fridays. Thank you so much. I will catch you in the next one. Bye!